Hello everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Middle Georgia Spotlight. I'm your host, Jack Ellis. Lately we've heard a lot about health disparities, COVID, how people are faring, how you have to take better care of your health. Joining us today in the Spotlight is a man who has devoted his entire career on healthy living, how you can take better care of yourself, how you can live longer, slow the aging process, not reverse the aging process. None other than medical doctor, not a quack. He's a medical doctor, Donovan Christie, and he is the founder and medical director of the N1 Regenerative Center.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Dr. Christie, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much, Mayor Ellis, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to come and talk.
Yeah, and welcome to Macon. I want to make sure people understand you're in Atlanta, but they can reach you, and you'll be more than glad to advise them as to what.
COVID has really expanded virtual medicine. So now I have patients all over the country.
Yeah,
we can do Zoom meetings. We can do a full comprehensive assessment. Send you to the lab, get your blood work, and follow through with the treatment and ship everything out.
Yeah. In addition to being a physician, a surgeon, he's qualified, he'll tell you what all he's qualified in, but he's an author and has written a book here, which I fell in love with, and I became one of his patients after reading this book. And I advise you to get this book and read it, and whether you want to become a patient of his or not, and how to invigorate yourself with lifestyle medicine. Mm-hmm. What is lifestyle medicine, doctor?
Very good point. And that's what I've found out over the past 30 years of practice. See, in medical school, we learn how to treat disease. The focus has never really been on preventing disease. So many companies, corporations, have become billionaires because they're treating disease. Many pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, physicians, we've become wealthy off treating disease. The focus should be, and the great physician focuses on preventing disease. And the only way to prevent disease is not by taking a drug. That's not going to help. I mean, if you have an infectious disease, you take an antibiotic, yes, you can cure that. But most chronic disease comes from our lifestyle. 90% of chronic disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, cancer, all sorts of cancer, from colon cancer to breast cancer, comes from our exposure, environmental toxins, and the way we live. Do we smoke? Do we eat right? Do we exercise? So much of that is a lifestyle. And so that's been my emphasis over the past 15, 20 years. To educate my patients on a healthy lifestyle.
Now, most doctors, it's about billing, we hear anyway, it's about billing. How many procedures you can give, how much medicine you can prescribe. So you're on the opposite side of that thing. You're not trying to cut on people, even though you're a surgeon. Mm-hmm. You're not trying to operate on people. You're not trying to fill people full of pharmaceuticals. That's on the other side of where doctors normally are, isn't it?
Well, I think that, if you look at it from, what is the real reason why you went into being a physician? Did you become a physician because you want to be wealthy? Or did you become a physician because you truly care about people, right? And, usually it's family members that drive you in that direction. And my mother, anecdotal, I speak about her all the time. She raised 8 of us. She had all the components of what we call the metabolic syndrome. She was overweight. She developed hypertension, high blood pressure. She had diabetes, pre-diabetes, And all of that brought on what we call all the constellation of metabolic syndrome. So her knees went bad because of the weight. So then she had knee replacement surgery, arthritis, right? And which then led to cardiometabolic disease, heart disease, and that's what she finally died of, and she was only 68 years old. So my mission, well, as soon as I got out of residency, and she passed several years later, I said, well, how do I prevent this from happening to other mothers or to other fathers? So I delved into preventive medicine, and I've been doing that since my mid-30s, which is over 35 years of practice. And it's been a wonderful experience just to be able to help people to prevent that sequela or the complications from an unhealthy lifestyle.
We just do the math. I just did the math. You say you've been practicing over 30 years and you started doing this in your middle. That means you're in your 60s and you look like you're 40, so it works. So, so whatever
right.
you're doing here is
well,
working.
I'd like to think that I try to be an example for my patients. If I'm doing it, I say, if I could do it, you can do it too.
Well, now what comes first? Kind of like the question, what comes first, chicken or the egg? Do you have to start eating right and start exercising, or both at the same time? They go hand in hand.
That's a very good question. 75% of weight loss has to do with nutrition. Only 25% has to do with activity. And I say that because if you don't correct the nutritional piece, you can never out-exercise poor eating. And the one thing that I'd like your audience to take away from is the sugar in the diet and the hidden sugars in the diet. That is what causes the hormone system, called insulin, to go up. Anytime your insulin level goes up from eating sugar, that's the biggest stimulus to insulin secretion, the body will take the sugar and store it into fat. That's the most efficient mechanism of storing energy. Because when you're eating, you're storing energy. You know, you need energy to sleep. You need energy to work. You know, the body is constantly in an active, in motion. It's doing something. There's metabolic reactions going on even while you sleep. And toxins are being cleared from the liver and the GI tract. So it's so important that you get the nutrition piece. And nowadays, it's so hard to eat right because you don't know. There's so much confusion about diet. What should I eat? Should I be on the keto diet? Should I be in the Mediterranean diet? Should I be on the SAD diet, which is the standard American diet? It stands for SAD. So we don't want to be on the standard American diet. It's high fat, it's high sugar, it's high salt, and it's processed. Even your breads, you know, I mean, people say, well, I used to eat bread back in the, the 50s and things were different then. We were doing more whole grains. Now, because of shelf life, manufacturers have depleted, they've removed all the nutrients from the flour, right? The whole grain. They've removed all the vitamins and the minerals, the things that makes a food alive. And they have now processed it, so people are eating white bread, or they're eating genetically modified foods, which is not as nutritious. Because of rapid farming, you're not getting the right nutrients in the food, in your fruits and vegetables anymore. So we're in a situation where it's buyer beware. You have got to know what you're eating and be meticulous about it. And that's what's going to lead to the major part of prevention of disease.
Now, you have gotten on me about, I like fruits, but you have admonished me about eating too many fruits in the type of fruits because they too have hidden sugar, if you will, sugar.
And there's this index called the glycemic index. Certain fruits have lower glycemic index than others, like berries, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries. They're raspberries. They have sugar in them, but it's a slower absorption versus a banana. When you eat a ripe banana, that's instant sugar, right? Or if you're eating sugar cane. I don't know if you've ever had any sugar cane.
Yes, I have.
Sugar cane in the Caribbean, that's all sugar. You know, watermelon, there's a lot of sugar in watermelon. So you have to really just minimize the amount of sweet fruits. Not that you can't have them, and you can definitely have them if you're not diabetic. It's when you are diabetic, when you have a problem and now you have to try to reverse it, where you have to be really strict about putting those things in your body.
But what I noticed in your book, and here again we're speaking with Dr. Donovan Christie, and he has written a book called Invigorate Your Lifestyle. And we encourage people, and I think we're going to put your information up while we're talking so
Sure.
people know how to contact you if they want more information. But in your book, you go beyond food, you go beyond exercise, you talk about spiritual health as well, meditation and other forms of spiritual well-being. Talk a little bit about that.
And you know, when I mention spirituality in the book, I want everyone to know that I'm not picking on a particular religion, because this is not about religion. It's about creating peace, inner peace, right? So you can get inner peace from any religion if you truly believe. You know, I'm Christian, but the Christian who says they believe and then they still worry, which worry brings about stress hormones. Stress hormones create a breakdown of the body, right? It reduces your immune system. So people who are chronically stressed and worried, they get disease. They get hypertension, right? Hypertension leads to heart disease. Hypertension leads to strokes and heart attacks. So you really have to monitor that. You have to really learn how to deal with stressors. And the best way is through meditation. It's through reading positive affirmations and repeating those to yourself. And truly, whatever you're going to believe in, if you're Catholic or you're Christian or you're Jewish or you're Hindu or Muslim, or even if you're atheist, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that whatever it is, you believe in it, and you're going to say, okay, I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I'm just going to give it to that higher power. But when you say you're going to do it and you don't do it, and you're still preoccupied with it, you're creating havoc inside. You're creating disease inside.
Now, we have heard a lot over the last year about during the COVID thing, about how African American, the disparity, especially in African Americans, has been laid bare. But it's been there all the time. So not to blame the victims, because anyone that's been affected by this COVID, my heart and goes out to you, you know, because I understand it's a very bad disease. But a lot of this, what you're telling me, if we change our lifestyle, probably diseases such as COVID wouldn't.
Right, you would be able to fight the disease off better. Now, knock on wood, I will tell you that we've treated hundreds of COVID patients in our office. Even during the season, we didn't shut down for one day in our primary care clinic. We did a lot more virtual visits, online visits, but we still remained open and saw at least 20 patients that would come into the office on a daily basis. The key is your own innate immunity, right? And how strong that is, how revved up it is to fight infection. And many of us, if we have diabetes, which has sugar in the blood and makes our immune system down, if we're obese, if we're, say, greater than 30, 40 pounds overweight, then you hit the obese category, your immune system goes down, because fat cells have inflammatory cytokines in the cells that create havoc in your body. So it's so important for you to build up your inner immunity, your gut health. Have taken probiotics, and I can give them some pointers here. They need a good probiotic. They need omega-3. They need a good multivitamin. And anybody, especially people of color, should be taking vitamin D, because vitamin D will help to treat your blood pressure issue. It helps with your bones. It helps with your immune system. And it just helps with your overall health. So vitamin D is something that everyone should be on. A probiotic is something that everyone should be on to help that gut, because you're taking in all the stuff, processed stuff with pesticides and herbicides, and the body is just going amok. And it's constantly in an action trying to protect you.
Yeah, get the gut. I want to talk about the gut because you went to one of your seminars, and all these alphabets after your name. We want to what they stand for a lot of stuff. Like I said, you're a medical doctor. You went to Einstein,
Albert Einstein in New York, and Columbia for my residency. Internal medicine and pediatrics. And functional medicine and anti-aging medicine.
Yeah. So you I
cover the whole
ball of wax,
exactly,
if you will.
Exactly.
Now, but you told me in one of your seminars about leaky gut. A leaky gut. What is a leaky gut, and how do we prevent it? And is it what we eat, how we exercise, or what?
A big part of it has to do with what we talked about earlier, which was the spirituality piece and the stress management piece, because I put that hand in hand. But I want you to picture your gut. Your mouth, your gut starts with your mouth, then you have the food pipe called the esophagus, then there's the stomach. After the stomach, it leads into the small intestines, where digestion takes place, and then the large intestines, and then through the anus.
And waste.
But it's a tube. It's from the mouth and it goes all the way through. Now you'd have different outpouching, like at the stomach, and the colon is a little bit bigger, but it's still a tube, right? So whatever you take in your mouth has to be processed correctly, because the lining of that tube, so you have this tube, the lining of the tube could be affected by what's going on in your body. So it's supposed to be sealed like this. When you get leaky gut, inflammation, it opens up. So you see that opening. Particles that you're eating or ingesting or inhaling are not supposed to go into the blood, because if it goes into the blood, then the body will create antibodies and try to destroy it. And that's how you get autoimmune disease like lupus, thyroiditis, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease. Those are all autoimmune disease. So your gut is your primary defense to any of the external things that you're ingesting. So you don't want to have leaky gut. And leaky gut comes from the fact that you're stressed, your immune system is down, you're eating high inflammatory foods like gluten and corn and soy, which is genetically modified, and it's sticking to the gut, it's creating damage to the gut. So these are all the things that you have to do to make your immune system stronger, right? Exercise, eating right, and managing your stress.
Now, getting back to eating right, you're not saying don't eat red meat. I've never heard you say don't eat red meat. You say cut back on it or make sure it's lean or whatever. So you're saying people can eat their beef, they can have their pork chops, their chicken and their fish, but what you're saying, how it's prepared or how much you're having of it?
Right, and that's the thing. So they've done so many studies on diets, and I will tell you up front, audience, the Mediterranean diet is the best diet to be on.
And that is?
The Mediterranean diet has to do with very little processing of your food. So you're doing olive oil, you can do coconut oil, you're doing fruits and vegetables, and fish, some poultry, and red meat rarely. And I say rarely, I mean no more than once a week, ideally once or twice a month is what you should do with red meat. And that really helps. It really helps. You can have a glass of wine, not a lot of wine, but you can have a glass of wine.
Red or white?
Red wine. White wine has no benefit. It does not have resveratrol, which is the antioxidant that's in wine, and it comes from red grapes, from the red grapes. So if you're drinking wine for the heart benefits, you should be drinking red wine. And the highest one is Pinot Noir, Merlot, or Cab. But Pinot Noir is the highest. Yeah. So
Bordeaux. I like Bordeaux.
But anyway. Bordeaux has some elements, but it's not as good as those three.
So back to the red meat, but you also the protein. So we're talking about protein. basically we get our proteins from meat for the most part, pistachios and that type of stuff, but mostly.
Well, that's a fallacy, Mayor. We could get protein from plants. You can get a full complement of all the amino acids, which is what makes up protein in plants. However, the density is not going to be as high as it is with meat, right? Because when you're eating meat, it's only protein and fat. And when you trim the fat, it's primarily protein, right? Vegetables, for instance, beans, have protein, carbohydrates, right? And some beneficial oils. So it's not as much. You just don't get as much protein. You have to eat a whole lot more of those to get equal a piece of meat. Chicken, fish, it's just higher, much higher, 40, 50 grams that you're going to get, versus in a bean, you're going to get maybe 18 to 20. That's the only difference. So there are people who live, or vegans, and they're living until they're 100, right? So but it's going to be harder for them to be muscular. You know, they have to really work hard to be a vegan body lifter, body weightlifter, you know, because it's just that they have to eat much more food. And it's fibrous. It's more fiber in vegetables, so they'll get full. So that's why most true vegans, not vegetarians, the vegans, are slim. They're, you know, usually rail-like, versus vegetarian that are eating a lot of processed foods. You know, a donut, there's no meat in a donut. a Twinkie, there's no meat in that. But yet still, people think, oh, I'm vegetarian, and then they're overweight or they're obese because they're eating too much sugar. That is the thing. It's the sugar that turns on the insulin that causes the fat storage.
Now, what about the juices? You know, you pick up a thing of orange juice. It says pasteurized, made from some pulp, but then you look and it says 25 grams of sugar. No added sugar, but yet should we avoid that type of sugar as well?
Well, yeah, I don't drink juice. If I'm doing juice, I'll buy my own orange and I'll squeeze my own orange juice, because a lot of that time they add added sugar to it. Grape juice, you know, they add more sugar because they're saying, well, God didn't put enough sugar in this, so let's put more. But so never drink juices with added sugar. If you trust the source and it's organic, they're using organic fruits, and it's just natural sugar that's in it with as much pulp and fiber, then you should go at it. But once it's been strained and it's concentrated, it's just the glycemic index is just going to cause that insulin levels to go sky high.
Now, in your book, you talk about goat's meat, that if you eat meat, that you recommend goat over beef.
Over beef, for sure.
Why is that?
Well, goat meat has, the protein in goat's meat is easily digested, and the fat of the goat, I don't know if you've ever seen it cooked, but you'll see it's kind of an oily, it's a saturated fat, but they're smaller compounds. They're not huge, long compounds. So it's easy to metabolize, so the body can burn it quicker. So goat meat is good, and since they're not shooting up all the goats like they're shooting up all the cows with testosterone and all the hormones that they're feeding them grains, you know, stuff that's just not natural for the animal. So we have to really look at how we're raising our food, our fruits, our vegetables, our meats, because it's all impacting. Whatever you put in that animal, you eat it, you're getting it.
Talk to me a little bit about organic, because some people are going broke, trying to go to Whole Foods and trying to go, even in Kroger's now, they have the organic section, and a bell pepper costs $2 in the organic section, but $1 over here. So what is the person to do?
So the bottom line is that you have to pay them not to mess with your food. The way God intended it, they're like, oh no, it's going to go bad too quick. You know, organic food is going to go bad quick because it supports life. So bacteria loves it, funguses love it, all the microorganisms love things that are natural, right? So what do? We'll grow a fruit and we'll put stuff in it to prevent animals from eating it, right? So is that better for us? The other animals can't eat it now, but we're going to eat it. We're eating what we put on there, the pesticides that we put on there, and the herbicides that we put on there. Unless you're washing it very well, and some people don't, they just take the fruit and they just eat it, those pesticides are carcinogenic. They can cause cancer in humans. So we just have to be very careful. Organic means free of pesticides, free of herbicides, grown with organic seeds means non-genetically modified, GMO, GMO, natural seeds. That is as natural as it comes, the way God intended it.
And it's very expensive. So if you want to eat right, you're going to need to have your own garden out back, I guess.
You know, that is a very true thing. That's a very true thing.
Now, let me ask you about the agent, because your book, this book, and I highly recommend you all to order this book. It takes about an hour, about 2 hours to read it, but some good stuff in here. And you, of course, you're talking about the aging process, not reversing the aging process, but slowing it down. Is that what we?
Absolutely, and you can do that very easily. Right?
Are you ever too old to get started on this?
No. I have in my regenerative center, you know, I have a concierge practice. I have a regular practice, and I have a concierge. The concierge practice is for people who really care about their health, and they have they put their health above other say commodities, you know. So they want to be able to pick up the phone and talk to a physician any time that they need it. They want to be able to call them and get advice on nutrition and on medications and stuff like that. So I have quite a few people who do that, but for the anti-aging strategies, the most important thing is what we talked about earlier, the nutrition, the exercise, and the stress management. But as you age, everyone needs to understand your hormones, your sex hormones, testosterone for men, for women, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, it all goes down. And when your hormones go down, you age. So restoring those hormones to a healthy level is the first step to an anti-aging approach. You want to still have muscles, or do you, as a 70-year-old man, do you still want to have muscles, or do you want to be flabby and have what we call sarcopenia?
Can you throw away your Viagra? No, I'm just kidding. That's my question. But really getting back to exercise, because some people say, well, I'm too old to exercise. It's never too late to start exercising, walking. Everybody's not going to be a bodybuilder like you, but what's reasonable for a person who hasn't been exercising for a while and they want to get started again?
It's very important, especially if you have an ailment. And most people, say they're in their 50s or 60s and they have hypertension or some diabetes or some high cholesterol. They don't want to just go and start exercising vigorously. I start people out, depending on who they are, that's why it's personalized. Medicine is becoming more and more personalized. You can't just say one size fit all. You have to do the chemistries, check your liver enzymes, check your kidney function, check your heart function, check your lung function. Get all this information, check your hormones, see what is deficient, check your nutritional status. We can check to see if you have vitamin deficiencies, if you have mineral deficiencies, if you have allergies, what food when you eat that every time you eat it an hour later you're falling asleep or you feel bloated, and you know, we need to find all this stuff out. This is personalized. Once you have that, then you can get a strategy outlined for you to follow. And then you'll see amazing improvements in the way you feel, the way you sleep, and the way you go about your everyday, and you appreciate life more.
And you outline in the book here, in the back of this book, I try to follow it, what I should be doing at 6 o'clock in the morning. It should be exercising, meditating, and so forth. So you just don't talk, you don't just talk about it, you tell people and direct them how to get healthy, and that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely, that's what it's about. So anti-aging, you know, for people who are busy, working and taking care of kids or grandkids or whatever, make sure you take care of yourself.
Well, Doctor, I would like to go on and on because there's so much good information here. We've been speaking with Dr. Donovan Christie. He's the founder and the medical director of N1 Regenerative Center in Atlanta, but he came all the way to Macon to share with us because I told him we have some health, and we do. We have some serious health problems, outcomes in our city. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Doc, for being here.
It's been a
and
pleasure.
We look forward to talking with you in the future. And
Yes,
thank
sir.
you all for joining us. Until next week, I'm your host, Jack Ellis.